I asked the community on Reddit, what's missing? What do you guys need in this industry? It's brand new. There's nothing there yet. And they said, we need buying guides. We need a way to understand how to make sense of this new market of electric scooters because we're into it, but there's a lot of misinformation. There's websites with stats that are incorrect. It's a big mess. We created our first product based upon what they asked for, and that's how the electric scooter guide was born.
Welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused to inspire you to take action to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Posivy, author of The Way Success Works. And welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Chuck Temple, founder of multiple seven-figure businesses. In this episode, we focus on his electric scooter guide company. I love the business model. Connect with a product or service that you're passionate about. Then become the industry source that the community trusts for real and honest reviews. There's no inventory to carry, and your cash flow, at least at the beginning, comes from commissions from affiliate links. Chuck will share that story as well as give you pointers of a couple of things to look for if you're curious about starting a review website. He'll also reveal the main indicator that you need to look for that'll be a sign of when you need to stop planning and start executing your plan for whatever your side hustle or expansion plan might be. Now here is part 2 of my conversation with the author of Startup to Sold, Chuck Temple. Electric scooter guide? So, tell me how you came up with that business idea.
I moved to San Francisco. This is after getting an MBA and having a failed startup and that sort of thing. But I moved to San Francisco. I'm all about freedom. I guess that's a theme, right? And so one of the things that I'm a very happy person, but the thing that really makes me get mad very quickly is just being in traffic and and just waiting for parking. And I'd never lived in a city, and San Francisco is pretty bad for traffic, right? It's why, if you don't have to drive there, don't. And so I was going to get an e-bike, and my girlfriend at the time, who I was living with, who's now my wife, she was like, "I'm thinking about getting an electric scooter." And this is 2016, so nobody knew about scooters. No. This is before Bird, this is before Lime. So I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and I was thinking of all the logistical factors of the way we live. And I'm like, gosh, I think electric scooter actually wins against e-bike for most use cases for me. And so I bought one. And it was the greatest thing that I ever bought in my life. I couldn't stop talking about it. I wore out all my friends and my girlfriend at that time, right? Nobody wanted to probably hear it anymore. I took it everywhere. I took it to all the top restaurants, the movie, everywhere. And so I started a subreddit because I just wanted more people to talk to, basically. Yeah. Forgot about it.
And so did your girlfriend and your friends. They wanted you to find somebody too.
I think so, yeah. And so I forgot about it. And then a year and a half later, as I was ending my time at Happy Moose Juice, Happy Moose Juice. I was COO for Happy Moose Juice, which is a cold pressed juice company.
What a awesome fun name.
Yep, you should definitely check them out. And so, a kid, a college student, messaged me, said, "Hey, can I be a mod?" And I was like, "What is a mod?" And he was like, "It's a moderator for a subreddit." And I was like, "What subreddit?" And so I remember, because I forgot that I had started the electric scooters subreddit.
Okay.
So he reminded me. I found that community. There was 100 and something people already in it talking about all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, "This is cool." And so a buddy of mine who we won a business competition together in the business school, he was ending his time at this. He was a biomedical PhD postdoc at Stanford. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Chuck, I'm not changing the world from the lab right now. Let's go do something. Let's be entrepreneurs." Wow. I was like, "All right, let's do it." And basically I asked the community on Reddit, what's missing? What do you guys need in this industry? It's brand new. There's nothing there yet. Mm-hmm. And they said, we need buying guides. We need a way to understand how to make sense of this new market of electric scooters because we're into it, but there's a lot of misinformation. There's websites with stats that are incorrect, all this stuff. And it's a big mess. Okay. So we created our first product based upon what they asked for. And that's how the electric scooter guide was born. Website is, again, the mistake on the website's electric-scooter.guide. But if you type in electric scooter guide, you'll probably find us. Within a year or so, it became the #1 platform in the world for the personal electric scooter market. And if I were to write a second book, it would be about how anybody can become an influencer. Right. About a product, right? So if you basically, we found a product And the whole thing is like, we're in this era of like the information age, but we're in like this era of like almost too much information now, right? So basically what the value proposition was that we were the trusted folks that could actually like make sense of the way too much information that was out there. And we did that for the personal electric scooter market with reviews, buying guides, sortable, filterable databases of stats, and then testing scooters using like real car racing equipment. So there could be actual data on how far is your scooter going to go, right, not what the manufacturer says, which is usually inflated by 2x.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of needs that need to be addressed there. And so that's actually for a lot of industries, a lot of products can use the same strategy.
By then you had built up quite a bit of credibility in the community so that people were actually trusting your reviews.
Yeah. I mean, managing the Reddit, first of all, and having a community is like, I mean, just having community these days is phenomenal. And then managing the communities, but then also just asking people what they want or what their problems are. It's like, this is a phenomenal like resource that you used to have to go to farmers markets to ask people this stuff, right? And spend whatever. Now you just build a community or go to someone else's community and ask them like, what's missing from this industry? Like, what do you need? And they will tell you. They would love to tell you. And then if you can build it, they will come.
To give it to them, yes.
And so we start out as affiliate marketing.
Yes, because you mentioned your first product. So that was basically your offering was the reviews on the site, and then the revenue model was the affiliate links.
Yes. The first product was actually, even before reviews, was actually just, and this is what anybody can do. It's a sortable, filterable database. So like a spreadsheet of all the different scooters that were out there. And then we just plopped in the motor wattage and the range and you just like all the little things. So if somebody wanted a scooter that was under 40 pounds, that could go 30 miles an hour, they just type that stuff in and then the spreadsheet just filters. That nice. Was it. And then guess whose link they would go to when they click the product. That it's a very simple idea, and so many industries would benefit from having just that first product, which is very easy to do.
Two things. One, I was looking at the site recently. Now I know you sold the company, but I'm sure this was a component of it back then. There was a fantastic page of all the different makes and models, and offering some kind of an incentive to click on that link.
The deals page or something.
Yeah, oftentimes a discount.
Oh,
I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, yeah. People are typing in, electric scooter coupon codes, whatever.
Right.
It's like, why would we not have like a repository and curate those, right? I mean, in fact, I teach a marketing class at UC Berkeley Extension where we go over a lot of these kind of like, I guess they're like new marketing. It's like affiliate market. It's not just for affiliate marketers. It's just how to solve problems for people, right? Find out what they're interested in doing, see what they're searching for, and create content that solves it better than anybody else. I mean,
well, that content, that review website is, gosh, it's brilliant on so many levels. Number one, you don't have any inventory.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's just the information. So if a person wanted to start a review website for a particular product or service, I suppose the challenge or focus would be to hone in on something that is not yet in a saturated market. Like, for example, I'm not an avid golfer, but I bet there are a lot of golf club review sites out there.
Probably. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've not looked comparing them. We should look, but that industry has been around a long time. It's nice to find somewhat new industry, and then also somewhat higher value products. Doesn't have to be, but having scooters can go anywhere from a few $100s to many thousands of dollars, right?
Okay.
And you're usually making a percentage of that sale. So products that are a little higher priced, you're just going to make more money. So if we end up referring somebody and they buy a $2,000 scooter and we make 6% of $2,000, then what is that? $120?
Right.
If you're doing that once a day, great. But if you could do it once a day, then you could probably do it 10 times a day.
Sure. And in the early days when these companies really didn't know you weren't buying all of them to test. Were you like demoing them, or how?
Well, so this is the hard part, right? For a community, for things online, for any kind of content marketing, is like, how do you like build your expertise if you don't have it to begin with? So basically, we used a couple methods, right? The biggest one was I did a West Coast scooter road trip, and I pinned a post saying, I'm going to do a West Coast road trip with electric scooters, and I pinned it on the subreddit. One manufacturer, I think Voro Motors, said, "Hey, we'd love to get in on this. Like, how can we support the effort?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Who's Voro Motors and what do you guys do?" And it turns out they sell scooters. So what better thing for them to, so anyway, so they ended up sending us a scooter that we could take on this road trip. And then when they did it, then GoTrax was like, "Hey, how do we get in on this?" And GoTrax sells scooters, right? So by the time we left on the trip, we had 6 scooters. We had to get a U-Haul to carry all of them.
Okay.
And we pulled it with my 4Runner.
Yeah.
And we went around the west coast of the US for, I don't know, like 10 days or something. And travel buddy of mine came and went with me, and a good photographer buddy came with me. And we just took videos and photos, and that's how we launched our Instagram. And that is how we got some of the first few scooters. Then, right, to build these reviews, I actually would make the review. I'd send a copy out to the community. Again, this is why having community or at least being a member of one is so valuable.
Right.
They gave me feedback on the video, and they said, "Hey, like,
perfect.
What about a drop test where you see if anything goes wrong with it?" I mean, they're coming up. Like, okay, it's like
stuff that you'd never think of.
Yeah,
right?
You have hundreds of people like giving you ideas. Not all of them are going to be good, but some of them are going to be gold. And so we implemented. It's like we decided, okay, what are the good ideas, which are not good, and we ended up building what we believe and what many people say are the best reviews in the industry, because they're tested over time. That we get feedback on them. We make changes, and as these reviews become popular, then of course, right, then everybody wants to send us a scooter.
Yeah, fantastic. So I suppose your biggest expense then really is running the website.
The biggest expense was the people, because we had employees for the electric scooter guide.
As it grew,
right? It was the people. But at the beginning, just the technology.
Right.
Couple subscriptions, but really not a lot of overhead. Not a lot. That's why it's such a wonderful type of company to grow. You just don't need a lot.
Right. So you're building your community, you're building your credibility to the point where the manufacturers, the dealers of these scooters,
Yep, exactly right,
have the faith in you to be able to basically become part of your community and your reviews.
Yeah.
And essentially the business model, the income from that is the affiliate links.
Yes. Yeah. That's how you can start. That's for sure. And a lot of them have if you go to the bottom of many websites, they're going to have a little link that says affiliate.
Right.
Because it's such a big part of marketing now, affiliate marketing. And it doesn't mean that you have to be dishonest or overly favorable, actually. Right. So I don't know which study I read, but I read one of them. I was researching something for my class, right? And I have access to like all like the journal articles now. This is wonderful. But basically reviews that are overly positive are not received as well. That they're viewed as less trustworthy than reviews that do say some negative things about whatever product it is. And so you don't have to sell your soul to do this type of work. You can be completely honest, figure out who this product is for and what they would like about it, and then talk about what things you found not so good about it. That's the easiest way to get started. Yeah.
And that being real with people, being honest with people is one of the reasons that you grew it to 7 figures as well.
I mean, it has to be, right? It has to be. And the industry grew. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Well, I know there are many aspiring side hustle heroes out there that are in the planning stages of their business. How do you know when it's time to stop the planning and actually start executing on the plan, especially if you know the plan is not perfect, which it never is, right?
Never perfect. I think that's the key, right? So the key to understand, right? So I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs over the years, and many of them have ideas. And so the way I think about this, a plan is like this scale from 0 to 100. 0 means you have no plan. 100 means you have the perfect plan that you know is not going to fail, which we all know does not exist.
Right.
And so most entrepreneurs that I know, at least that are successful, have what do they say? Affinity to action, or like they're predisposed to get to execution phase.
Yes.
And so basically think about how quickly you're going from 0 to 100. And as soon as that pace stops, right? So for me, I know my number. My number is 80. I go from 0 to 80%, like perfect, really quick, really, really, really quick, right? That's like my superpower. And so I typically stop at 80, because then what happens is when I launch, when I execute, when I start whatever that new thing is, whether it be a business or a new initiative in a business, whatever it is, the learning comes from succeeding and failing. Once I start executing, the learning just continues to go quicker. So,
and I would say exponentially too.
Yeah.
Because you're getting real data, real feedback.
Real data. Yeah. Real feedback. You're talking to real people, right? You're asking for to pull out their wallet, which is a lot different than surveys and just, so the people that I know that continually work on their plan forever, they actually never become entrepreneurs. They want to,
right?
They want to start something, but they actually never do because they want to get that plan closer to 100. And so what I say is, go until you're not getting much further very quickly. It's a function of time and that 0 to 100 percentage. As soon as you start to slow down on that plan, then launch and succeed or fail. And again, like if you fail, that's where your real learning comes. And then you pivot, you try something slightly different. You know, you're going to learn so much by actually launching and trying something than you can by continually trying to launch it in your own mind. It doesn't work that like that's not no business
you need to get out
is
there.
In somebody's mind, at least not yet.
No, that makes total sense. I think you coined the term smack you in the face therapy. What is that?
That I should probably rename to entrepreneur therapy or something because, well, I just don't want people to think of it in a wrong way. But you know, at the time, to me, it was smack you in the face therapy. What that is when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a business owner, or even when you're managing any number of people, what happens is things that, so I'll just say this from my perspective, that of the business owner.
Yeah.
Everything that you touch, which is everything, right, becomes like a mirror of yourself. And so for me, how that manifested, right? I think I mentioned before, maybe I have a little bit now, but I had no sense of style. I had no, I didn't sell myself well. I was very not confident at that time. And so that in my business, that showed itself in terms of like my marketing, my branding, none of that made any sense. Like it just wasn't really there. Operations was really good. So if you look at your business, right? And so for me, I looked at my ops were phenomenal. The systems were phenomenal. That's like the stuff I'm good at.
Yeah.
But
that's
then
your wheelhouse.
Yep. And that's great. But as an entrepreneur, right, the thing, unfortunately, you kind of have to be at least decent at everything. This is the problem with being the side hustle and all this stuff, is that people will say, like, well, just hire the thing that you're not good at. Well, there's a couple of problems with that. One, you got to have money to hire. Two, good luck hiring for something that you don't know anything about. You're going to get burned by that person you hire because you don't know if they're going to be any good and you're not going to know how to manage them. So basically, when you look at your company, and you see, like I can do this, I can go into restaurants, I'll go into small businesses all the time. And because I've run a few and I've had lots of employees, right? You can start anything that you see that's not like pretty darn good. You literally 100% of the time, you can trace that back to the owner. And it's not a bad thing. This is just like the personal growth of an owner mimics like a company can only grow to where the personal owner has develop personally. If that personal owner has rough edges, like they don't know how to manage, maybe they're yelling at people, they're going to have an issue with turnover, right? The employees are like, say they're not friendly. Many of them are not friendly with customers. Like that's their culture. Well, it's very obvious where that comes from.
For sure.
So it seems to be true 100% of the time. And so that's also true if if you're a manager within another company, but this is all about the side hustle and being your own boss. So if you look at your company, you take a really hard look at it, right? The smack you in the face is whatever is not going right is probably just some skill or some facet of yourself that's not as fully developed as something else.
Right.
To say it in the best way. And it's not a bad thing. It actually is an awesome thing. This is actually how I kind of grew up. Like I started out in college, a lot of rough edges, not great at actually bad at relationships. I mean, I don't want to go into all the just rough edges on myself. And I'm sure I still have some, but so many of them were magnified and hit me in the face while I was trying to grow the business but it gave me an opportunity to look at myself and say, oh my gosh, I'm being so greedy right now. How can I grow this company while I'm not offering health insurance to my employees is something that happened and not facing it and having to deal with feeling those feelings. Basically everything that that went on growing those companies. That
and again,
wasn't
that's another
great.
factor in taking what was basically a seed of an idea to the point where it's a 7-figure company, because you had the insight, the humility, the courage to take a look at what was holding the company back and holding up that mirror and basically going, yeah, maybe it's me in these areas, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything was me. Everything was me, which also gives you a sense of like responsibility, but then control if you're willing to do the work.
Right. Because that would have been an exciting turning point.
Yes.
To make that realization. So good for you.
Yeah. That's the therapy. And by doing it, I think that's one of the ways a company can grow is that way.
You recently released a book on your entrepreneurial journey. You kind of made reference to it a couple of times. Tell us about Startup to Sold.
Yeah. So Startup to Sold was the story of basically how we started this podcast, which was where I was at the time. And it's a story of growing DVD or memories from idea to the 7-figure company that it was when it sold. And basically, it's the lessons that I had to learn in order to get through each stage of that business in order to continue it growing. It's an honest account. It's as honest as it gets, including all the things that I messed up at and that sort of thing. I wrote it in 2016 as a way to basically get closure on my baby, the thing that I sold. And it was a hard time once I sold it, because that was my identity was wrapped up in there. It was the only thing I ever did. I went from being important to being kind of like not important anymore, right? When you have 27 full-time employees and stuff, and then you go from that to moving home and not,
huge.
Trying to figure out what's next, it's hard. And so I wrote that to get out all the lessons to be able to like actually get on paper everything that was bundled up emotionally inside of myself. And then I had an editor look at it later. I was potentially going to at least have a copy for myself, just to have it on a shelf or something. And the editor said, "Hey, Chuck, I think you have a shot at getting a real publisher with this book." And so I asked a couple, and one of the two said, "Yeah, let's do it." And that one was Inc. Originals, which is a function of Inc. Magazine, which is a small business magazine in the US.
Sounds like a perfect fit, though.
I think it is. Yeah. For sure. For them. And I think that I'm sure anybody that reads it, like you'll learn something for sure. And I would hope that you will be inspired also.
Well, because they're based on real life examples.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Chuck?
Yeah, I'd love anybody that wants to reach out. There's 2 websites that I have. One is startuptosold.com.
Okay.
And the other one is chucktemple.com. So if you want to find out about the book or about myself, you can go to any of those. And then they have social links on those. If you want to connect socially, that would be amazing. And, or you want to just send me an email, then you can do that through either of those 2 websites.
Perfect. And we'll definitely have those links in the show notes.
Wonderful.
Well, through all that you've done with your companies, with your growth, with your book, clearly you're someone who knows how to get things done. What's your best tip to inspire others to pursue their side hustle dream?
I would say if you're passionate about something, then just go ahead and start doing it.
Okay.
And I would say don't plan too much. Just go and execute. And don't forget that you're going to learn a lot more by executing than you will by planning. So I would say back to our conversation about execution. If you've got something that you love doing, just do it. And if you start doing it, start meeting people like you, grow your network and show your love for that thing. I think that's the best way.
That's great advice. Well, thank you so much, Chuck, for sharing your insights, your expertise, the story of your companies, and of course, for being today's side hustle hero.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Did you catch when he said he posted on Reddit about his upcoming West Coast scooter road trip? When he made that post, he didn't have any sponsorship from any scooter dealers or manufacturers. He just thought, I'm going to do this. He took action. It was only after he put himself out there that the first scooter company came along and asked him, how could they be involved? And then another and another, until he had 6 scooters when it was time to head out on the road trip. My point is, too often we want to wait until everything's lined up and perfect. The problem with that, of course, is that if that's our MO, then we may spend our whole life waiting for the stars to align and for the path to be guaranteed. But in reality, of course, that doesn't happen. It's only once we take that first step that the next step will be shown. In other words, go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll see how to go further. I bet you have way more talent and ability and skill and resourcefulness than you give yourself credit for. Muster up the courage to put yourself out there and take that next step. Only then will you see how to go further. Well, that's a wrap for today. You'll find links to Chuck's websites as well as the show notes on our website, sidehustlehero.com. And I'd love to hear your feedback on the show, on the guests, how this podcast is helping you. What areas could we do better? Shoot me an email message to hello@joanposivy.com or by DM on Instagram @JoanPosivy. Thanks for listening and hustle on.